Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to another Gravel on the Ground from Baguio, Philippines, but I am talking about Da Nang. I think it's really nice the fact that I'm here, able to talk about Da Nang. When you talk about a place, it's usually in a contrast to another place. Like when I first arrived here, I'm thinking, oh, California, that's where I'm from, right? How is BGC different than California? That was my first trip. So obviously like and subscribe and all that stuff. This is a 3-month trip through tons of cities, and here in Philippines and in Vietnam. And I'm going to talk about all that in ways that most channels don't. And I understand why it's this way. It's just so much easier to have a happy channel that always talks about the great things about everything. But it really does a disservice to the public. And I watched countless videos on Da Nang before I went there and had no clue what it was actually like. Everybody just cherry-picked all the great things, and maybe that was their experience. And maybe they never actually left their little bubble or area. But I have lots of things I love, lots of things I don't love about Da Nang, and hopefully you can learn something from this video. And that's coming from somebody who's traveled to 50 countries and, loved most of them. The things I liked about it, great food choices, obviously, healthier food choices, but it's just almost like living for free in some cases. It's literally just so cheap. You could eat so cheap. For $1, I can be full, no question, with a great meal, and I, very happy with that. Coffee, 50 cents, $1. You can be very happy and have some of the best coffee you've ever had in your life, and so many different varieties. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But your food choices are all the way. I ate almost every day at an Indian restaurant or an Italian restaurant. The Indian restaurant was owned by an Indian, and the Italian restaurant was owned by somebody from Italy, and the prices were just ridiculous. I mean, for $7-8 you could get a big pizza that was from Italy. I mean, it was just amazing. And about the same price that I could get a nice Indian meal with a mango lassi. And I felt like, hey, yeah, I'm living high on the hog as a Westerner, right, for $7 a meal. So there's that huge variation where you could just have this amazing food for pittance of what you would pay for the same thing in the West, or you could just, save a lot of money. Because that's probably the main reason a lot of people go to Vietnam right now. Beautiful beach, but you can live there for almost nothing. I mean, $500 a month, you can have a great apartment, and then you could spend, $4 or $5 a day on food or something, and you'd live just fine. And it's probably one of the most affordable places in the world right now to be able to just, live your life, hang out on the beach. Some of the places have just absolutely amazing service. The Italian restaurant I was talking about, I'm trying to put up pictures of all these different places as I'm talking about them. There's lots of hidden gems. A lot of people will never see them. And if you go walking down a street and then you just want to take an alley, take an alley here or there, you may find your favorite place that you've ever been to just by walking around. It has a much more of a healthy lifestyle. You'll see a lot of people running, jogging. If you're willing to get up before sunrise, like I did, and head to the beach, you're in for a treat. You will never see anything like this anywhere else that I've ever been. Saturday, sunrise. It's the only hula hooper I've seen. Everybody's out, and so many people are exercising and doing qigong and jumping in the water, and it is something that I think everybody should experience. It really is motivating, and when you see how these people work all day, every day, then I think that you're going to get a greater appreciation for what it takes for them to get up in the morning and get out there and do this. And the same thing happens in the evening, but of course, that's the evening. But that's sunrise and sunset. Feels very old school, right? Very, very primal. I mentioned before about the coffee that's super well known. I miss it already. Luckily Baguio has some of the best chocolate, so getting a mocha here is really nice. But as far as Philippines go, coffee was nothing compared to what it's like in Vietnam, and that's one edge I will give to them. And the avocado coffee from Masa and from a couple of other places that I went to is just something I wish I could take everywhere with me. Wow, that's truly fantastic though. The thing is, it's consistency though. Like Masa, there was a couple times it was slushy and it wasn't good, and the other times it was the most amazing, most epic thing I've ever had in my life. A little more consistent in some other places. You do feel like you can be a local or a tourist. Now, there's some areas that are just like, every single place is just all foreigners. Everybody that works there is Vietnamese, and everybody that goes there is a foreigner. And that's great. I mean, you can be able to get what you want. You can live at the beach. It's cheap. It's all those kind of things. But you really don't feel at all like a local. Whereas where I stayed over kind of by the Dragon Bridge, I rarely saw foreigners unless I went to the Dragon Bridge area. An important pastime here in Vietnam, or in Da Nang, Vietnam altogether, is sitting in a coffee shop and staring at your phone. I mean, staring at the world. These coffee shops, they all face the outside, and you'll see them in almost every corner. And I can say, without a doubt, my favorite time, at least so far in Vietnam, is sitting at coffee in one of these chairs with nothing to do, nowhere to go, and just relaxing and having an egg coffee. I know that most people that come here are going to be on an agenda. They're going to have all of these plans and things to do, and you got to go here, you got to go there, and maybe it's just nice to just take some time, get up in the morning and go to there'll be one on probably a corner near you, and just relax. Just take it all in, just be part of like what Vietnam is actually like. And I could sit at the coffee shop like the locals and have a coffee for 50 cents, an egg coffee or something, or 70 cents or something, and just really chill. Another thing I really love is the independent businesses. Everything, although a lot of the things feel the same, it's not strip mall hell, right? It's not like every single thing is a Starbucks and a McDonald's and a KFC and all this stuff. They're all independent businesses, and I didn't really recognize that at first. And then, after a week or so, I'm realizing, hey, these are all independent businesses. That's really nice to see. And I certainly miss that when you're like, I'm from California, and it seems like almost everything is turned into a strip mall hell. So that I just wanted to bring that up. I'll go back again and say affordability. It's so cheap there. I can't stress enough just how inexpensive it is compared to just about everywhere else. And if you're in the actual kind of Vietnamese areas, like I said, it doesn't feel westernized. They feel like a distinct, different kind of people, and that's not happening in a lot of, like I said, I've been to like 50 countries, and it feels like everywhere has gotten westernized to a certain degree. I didn't really feel that in Vietnam. I feel like, yes, they serve a Western audience and they make these places, but then once you get into their areas, it does not feel Western to me at all. And that was kind of, it's kind of nice to feel like they've really retained culture. And something I will say in between good and bad is the heat and the humidity. Some people love it, some people hate it. I don't particularly love it because I love to walk. When I was there, it was primarily really great weather, and that's going to be March. The weather was really nice, but I'm sure in the summer it's going to be devastatingly hot. And the ocean water there is pretty warm, so it doesn't really feel like you're getting that relief that you would get normally at a beach. And since the beach is so big, you're just gonna be under the sun, unless you want to get buy a little chair to sit in or something. But that heat can be a double-edged sword. What are the negatives about Da Nang? I gotta say, Vietnam in general, I have spent a month and 10 days in Vietnam. I gave it a really, really good try. It's just not my thing. It's just too noisy and just too everywhere, I think after a couple days, most people are going to get annoyed with just how loud and crazy it is. This is awesome. And some people don't mind that. I like a calm place. I love Baguio here. Like I said, Iloilo kind of in between that, and I really loved it there. But Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, Da Nang, been to all three of them. Just too crazy noisy. They honk for anything. Literally just honking going on everywhere you go. You get into a cab, they're just constantly. Now, after living there for a while, I understand why they do that. They don't have like stoplights or stop signs almost anywhere. And so they have to let each other know that they're going through these intersections, and also let the motorcycles know that you're about to pass and all kinds of stuff. But what it creates is just chaos when it comes to noise. It's just coming from everywhere. And they love their karaoke, and it's not in English and it's not songs so to me the sound of it is very difficult to listen to, and it goes on till 10 p.m. pretty much every night, almost everywhere. They'll just randomly burn things, on the side of the road, and that'll just come into your hotel room. It's very noisy, and people smoke. This is definitely a place where people love to smoke. So if you're sitting out at a coffee shop, there's as good a chance as any that somebody's going to sit right next to you and chain smoke right into your face. And a lot of them will be kids. You're talking about 18, 19-year-old kids out there at the coffee shops smoking and so this isn't just an older person. This is going to be around for a while. And again, this is just my opinion. This is my experience, but nobody's really telling you these things in the videos. So I wanted you to know so that you can make at least you understand what you're getting into. What I felt, and this is coming from the Philippines to Da Nang or Ho Chi Minh City, is just an overall lack of joy. I'm not seeing a lot of people smiling and laughing and jumping around, even the kids. and maybe that's just part of the culture, part of the way things are. But I just didn't feel a lot of joy, and I've seen that all over the world. You go to Mexico or Panama or something, the kids will have one ball, but they'll be just having the best time of their life. And I just really wasn't seeing a lot of that in Vietnam. I would say in the northern areas, Hanoi did feel more joyful. That's just, again, coming from my personal opinion. I really enjoyed Hanoi a lot better when it came to just the joy and happiness and meeting people and things like that than I did in Ho Chi Minh or Da Nang. But then you've also got the really bad air quality in both Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, which I never get sick, but being there, I wouldn't stay there more than a couple of days because almost everybody I know that has gone to those places, at least when you arrive, will get sick from just so much pollution. And Da Nang has its pollution, but luckily it's next to the water there, so it does tend to go away. But when you're right next to the street, you are going to get a lot of that, and you are going to feel it. And a lot of times you are right next to the streets and with the motorcycles, if you're walking anywhere, because traffic is everywhere all the time. And it's really loud, and you're going to feel that air. Let's get to the biggest reason I did not enjoy Da Nang, and that is the lack of sidewalks, or they have sidewalks almost everywhere, but you cannot use them. And here's a picture. This is, to me, is Vietnam in a nutshell. Ooh, I'm in a nutshell.
Help, I'm in a nutshell. How did I get into this nutshell?
It's exactly like this. People just don't care. They'll stand right in front of you. They'll just put their motorcycles right in the sidewalks with no thought at all about people getting by. They just don't care. And this is what I ran into over and over and over again. A motorcycle will just pull right out in front of you when you're walking down the street and just park there, and like you don't exist. And I have heard a little bit of that in other people's videos, but they really kind of downplay it. But it really is a thing. And walking down streets can be pretty difficult, and you will have to walk into traffic quite often. And getting across, again, they don't have a lot of lights there, so getting across streets and things, you're playing Frogger, I would suggest walking with locals, when they cross the street, to get an idea of how you properly do that. It isn't maybe the way that you would think about it in the United States, or from other Western countries, or any other country for that matter. Airbnb reviews do not match what you actually get. It is very hard to find a quiet place in Vietnam. So higher is better, of course. If you're on the second floor, just be prepared that you're going to hear some crazy karaoke or other loud music or loud motorcycles or people yelling at their kids or whatever. All of these things happened to me in my stay, and I looked for a place that said it was quiet, because I actually did find a quiet place in Ho Chi Minh. I've been able to find quiet places in most every place I've ever been. Da Nang seemed to be the hardest for me. It's just one of those things. I usually don't mind the noise during the day, but when I come home at night, I want to be able to get a good rest so that I can get out and adventure the next day. And that's going to be difficult. So if you are a light sleeper or you have trouble with noise, then I'm just going to say it. Vietnam itself might not be a great fit for you. Mosquitoes. They are weird in Da Nang. They are so tiny that you cannot see them. And I've heard this from several people, several foreigners. They're like, I got bit all up and down my arm, and I had no idea. I never even saw a mosquito. Where did it come from? And I have sat there because I know where I got bit. And so I would go and I would sit there and I would look for them, and I could not see them. They're so either stealth or tiny or whatever. It's kind of, I know it's a small thing. I just thought I would mention it. It's kind of funny, but yet kind of terrorizing in the same time. The language barrier. I mean, last but not least, something everybody should realize. Philippines is so easy. Pretty much everybody speaks English. At least in the cities, and you get used to that. Now I've been all over the world, and dealing with language barrier has never been anything difficult for me. I usually learn at least a few words in local languages, and I can get by anywhere. But it is definitely, you are not going to see a lot of English in most areas of Vietnam. I felt a lot more in Hanoi again. You just got to remember that. Like I said in my first video in Da Nang, I got out of the taxi, and I just walked up to the first gentleman I saw, and I was like, okay, is my hotel over here? Do you know this one? And just look at this blank stare in my face. And then I realized, oh yeah, I'm in Vietnam now. He has no idea what I'm talking about. And so this just, it's something to know. Not necessarily. I would never let a language barrier stop me from going to a place. But if you're between two places and, like the Philippines or Vietnam, it is way less difficult when you are able to express yourself or ask questions or do this or that, But it's also nice to be challenged and to be able to have to deal with things, even without Google Voice. I've been traveling way before all that stuff was invented. And it was never that difficult to deal with. I mean, people are people, and you will find a way. So don't ever let that stop you. But I think it's important to realize you're going to have some difficulty. Being able to understand what something is that you want to eat, or, to ask a question to get somewhere. So a lot of negatives for me in Da Nang. I think they're all valid. You can go over the list that I said, but at least maybe you have a better idea of what you're getting into than I did, even after watching all of these videos on Vietnam. I really, really did not know what to expect until I actually got there. So hopefully that helps. Hope you like and subscribe, and you can see all these other videos of places where I actually did really love. And I will see you in the next one. Love y'all.